Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Pursuit Live. Yeah, that's right. We are back. As always, I'm your producer, Chris, bringing it to you live here in the studio. Joining me, as always, my faithful co-host and your creator of Pursuit Live, Mr. Dave Hawkins.
What's up, killers? What's going on? Happy Friday night. Cheers to another good afternoon. And we got a great show for you tonight, as Chris likes to say. Right, buddy?
I mean, listen, if you want to steal my lines, that's fine.
That's it.
I got some other stuff to say, so we'll no problem, Dave.
We'll do it live.
So, as Dave said, we do have a great show. Listen, this is going to be fun. So, if you're into fishing, please share this with your friends. But joining us tonight is Captain Erica Lynn. Erica, thank you for joining us. Or should I call you Captain? Which is it?
Whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Permission aboard the interview, Captain.
Permission granted.
Nice.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. You can call me whatever. A lot of people call me Erica. In the stores when someone randomly recognizes me, they'll be like, "Hey, Erica Lynn," but whatever.
Yep.
It's all the same.
Well, I was excited to do this show. I mean, we have touched on, we've had other guests on, fishing. This is definitely going to be one of the more, in-depth fishing episodes that we do. And that when we started this show, we didn't want to just kind of, one track it into hunting. We were all about the outdoors. We all, for the most part, grew up in an outdoor household or community, whatever it may be. And fishing is a big part of that, whether it's freshwater, saltwater, whatever it may be. So when we started the show, Chris, Rob, and myself, we really wanted to just keep that in mind and reach out to people that were doing things in the outdoors, doing them the right way, in a positive influence for others to keep that tradition alive. So you fit this, you fit the bill perfectly. So we're happy that you joined us. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been really fun. I was
Good.
excited when you reached out. I was like, definitely need to set that
Well,
up.
we appreciate that. So if you guys are all ready, what do you think? We'll get it going?
Yeah.
I mean, let's go. Listen, I just want to take a minute and apologize to everybody that it's been a couple weeks since we've been on.
It has been, yeah.
It's completely Dave's fault. So
I'll take that.
We're just going to move on from that.
Yes, as we were joking before the show, rosy cheeks and all, Chris and I have unfortunately been very busy at our boring regular jobs. That it's not as much fun as this. So we do apologize. We appreciate everybody following along, though. We see the interactions coming through Instagram and YouTube. We'll talk more on that later. But thank you for the continued support. But let's get into it, Erica. If you're ready, I think it's going to be you and I. We'll get this going.
Okay.
All right. So obviously, you this journey that you've gone on, it's had many different stages and it's evolved, over some time now recently. Going back to a younger age, though, what really got you out on the water? Was it freshwater fishing? Was it saltwater? Was it a combination? You could pick it up wherever you want, but what kind of was like the first memory you had of fishing, and what got you started?
Yeah, for sure. So I was fortunate enough to have my pop when I was growing up. So it's my mom's dad.
Okay.
He was a fisherman in the family. So from before I can even remember, I have pictures that my mom would show me that in diapers we were on the boat with him, fishing. We were fishing saltwater. This was off the coast of Long Island, New York area. So you guys would know that. Doing fluke and flounder. So I mean, I grew up just kind of jigging off the bottom.
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to toot his horn because he's not unfortunately alive anymore. He was an amazing fisherman. Everyone in the area knew who he was. We would be doing circles around those party boats. We're just catching fish left and right and nobody on the boat's catching anything. We were just killing it. He just had the magic sauce when it came to what we were using. But no, he got me into fishing at a very, very young age. And that's all I wanted to do. I lived for those days that we would go on the weekends and go visit them and get out on the boat. Even if we didn't catch anything, I just loved being on the water. So he definitely got me started at a young age to love the outdoors and love just being, present in nature and just kind of enjoying my time out there. Fast forwarding to so I actually lived in Pennsylvania at the time.
Okay.
We'd drive back and forth to go visit them on the weekends as I was growing up. He ended up passing away in my mid-teens. And like I said, he was the fisherman in the family. So my grandma sold the boat after that. My parents weren't really into fishing otherwise. So we didn't fish at all. And then I always knew I wanted to get back out on the water. That was just like a part of me that was missing. So fast forward, I was in college and graduating college. I was to the point where I really wanted to get out on the water again. My grandma lived in Dunedin, Florida. So we'd been down to visit her at that point. So, it was one of those points in my life where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to make this jump, sell all my stuff, pack up my car, drive down. I'm going to start a new life in Florida. I was working in orthodontics at the time. So I had a job lined up to transition me down to like a new office down there. So it wasn't just like a random jump, like it was planned.
Right,
it was planned a little bit. But bought myself a fishing kayak when I bought my condo in Clearwater, and working 4 days a week, it was really nice. I had 3-day weekends to just do whatever I wanted to do. And every chance I got, I was out on the kayak, just, teaching myself a brand new way of fishing, and then from people I'd met along the way, like they were kind of giving me tips and tricks, because fishing, I'm sure people that are watching this would understand that fishing up north is way different than fishing in Florida. Like you use different tackle, you use different line. I was using crazy stuff that like I laugh at now, like using 60-pound leader, thinking that's what I needed to catch redfish on. Like it was just way off. I'll give a lot of credit to my now husband. He lived and grew up in Florida, so he knew everything when it came to fishing already. So I've learned a lot from him. He got me into fly fishing a couple of years ago, and it's just sharing all these experiences through social media from the beginning of when I moved to Florida. This is, almost like 12 years now ago. Social media just started kind of blowing up, and it was just always a hobby. I've always enjoyed the water. I've always loved being out on the boat fishing.
Yeah.
And it kind of was one of those transitions, like, wow, like this is actually starting to really blow up. Like maybe I should see where this goes and pursue this more. And during COVID, I was furloughed from my orthodontic office. And at that point, I hadn't really dipped into YouTube yet, because it is a lot. I'm sure you guys know too. There's so much editing that goes along with, like, it's not just filming. It's like there's a whole lot of more work that goes into putting video productions together. So I was like, all right, I'm furloughed. I got nothing else backed up right now. Like, let's just start learning YouTube. Let's try to learn how to edit. And I was able to get YouTube kind of off the ground at that point while I was furloughed. And YouTube, and once I went back to the office, I was still posting videos. And as that started growing, I was like, well, you know what, this might potentially be a full-time thing. Like now's the time to take that as an opportunity to quit my job, see where this goes. And that's been about 5 years now that I've been doing this full time, which is crazy when I say that number because it's gone so fast. But it's been a wild ride, and I love every second of it. So that's a quick summary of my life and kind of where it got me to where I'm at now. So
no, it was great. It was a great segue. You touched on a lot of topics there, and actually, I guess I had some good notes because you already checked off 4 of my notes. So that was good. That was a perfect intro.
Perfect.
I do want to let's roll it back a little bit though. Like when you were fishing with your grandpa. I can kind of picture it. I'm on Long Island myself. So when you're talking about fluke fishing, it's a lot of jigging, maybe with either bucktails or, a pre-made rig with a sinker and a hook and like a fluke belly on or something. I mean, not necessarily a tactic, or it could be a tactic, but one thing you really remember him teaching you early on, it could be for fluke fishing or just in general up in that Northeast. Was he like looking for any structure down below, or was he a tide person? Was it a water temperature, looking for bait or birds? What was his tactic that you kind of remember him always going to?
So and it's, when you're younger, there's so many things that they just kind of hand you the rod and like don't really tell you too much.
Start cracking, keep your tip up.
No, I know exactly. Like don't let go, just don't let go.
Yeah, don't drop the pole.
Yeah, no, certain things I do remember specifically. Like he would go and catch his own bait, so he would take a cast net basically, or it wasn't really a cast net. It was like 2 people would hold the sides and like scoop along the edge of like a little beach area to get spearing. Yeah,
it was like 2 wooden poles with a mesh net in the middle, and you kind of just channel them together and you close it up and then you drain it. Yep.
Exactly. So we would get our own bait. I have memories as a kid of like they would lay we'd get home to my grandparents' house, they'd lay this net out in the yard, and it was my sister and I's job to go and just pick out all the baits that didn't come out.
Yep.
So we would just be like standing around the net picking up random like little pieces of fish.
Yeah, she was spearing, killies. That's all really good for fluke.
Yeah,
Okay. No, that's it.
So
You got
he
it
would
right.
do that. Now the secret sauce. Now I don't know exactly what he put in it because it was a secret. But he would take, like, obviously the bait was dead at that point. He would basically almost infuse the bait with like a garlic. It was some sort of concoction he put together. I don't know what it was, but I'm pretty sure the garlic was in there. But he would freeze them in like packs together, so it would kind of just like soak in all that yummy juice. And then as we'd go fishing, he'd like pull one out, and so it like the bait would already have like this scent on it. So that was apparently what caught. Like I feel like every time we went fishing, we killed it. Like we always caught so many fish.
There's something to it.
Like I said, we would be doing circles around like those party boats. Like they were always out there pretty regularly, and we're there. Like, I mean, granted, I'm like 10 years old, like 8-10 years old, like, and I'm whipping in these giant flounder, and like all these people on this party boat are like watching, like not catching anything. So,
yep. That's pretty interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Chris, up you there in the fancy Hudson area, you guys infuse any of your freshwater baits or anything like that? Maybe a little Chardonnay for the Hudson on, a little sunset fishing.
Yeah.
What the hell are
There's
you
a law going riff with me, Chris.
Talking about in the Hudson. Ooh.
Yes. Bougie, Chris.
Nah, listen, for us up here in the Hudson, for live bait, just live bait, nothing special. We do a lot of fly fishing up here, and if we're using a regular rod, it's like I'll give it away. We Senko worms. That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Nothing crazy.
Hey, if it works, yep.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about that. I'm sure you've seen, Erica, the evolution of. I mean, we can talk about it now. Well, we can get into it. I'm sure you started. It was all monofilament. Like you kind of talk about with the leaders and everything. I really think like the evolution, like in the hunting world with the fishing world, between the poles, the reels, the braided line now instead of the mono, it's unreal the options that are out there. That could be daunting to a new angler. If you could maybe pick one setup, and I know it could be hard to do, there's so many variables. Let's just say for your everyday angler looking to get into it, a spinning reel, like what would you say recommend to them to be like a good go-to setup for a wide variety of fish?
Yeah, that's a good question. So here in Florida, well, let me break it down into like the Tampa area, because that's kind of what I can like answer this question on a little better. So we have a very good population of redfish, snook, and trout. Those are kind of your main inshore species, aside from like, you can still catch flounder and tilapia and some other stuff like that. But I prefer to use a spinning rod for those. If you go with like a 3,000 reel, 4,000 reel, that should be plenty. Technically, I use a 2,500 spinning rod or spinning reel because I like to fight.
I was gonna say it's a little light, yeah.
A little light. I prefer the lighter setup, but for someone just starting out, especially if you're going to be fishing around some structure, like docks or mangroves, you may want a little bit more of like oomph behind it to help reel it in. Your
drag must be pretty heavy. You got a heavy drag on that 2,500?
Yeah. If I'm around structure, I definitely tighten it down. But it does allow the fish to run a little bit more. So I kind of play that game of just kind of having a little better idea of how to fight the fish. But for your average angler, like I said, a 3,000 is perfect, 4,000 is perfect. And then just on like a medium light rod, nothing too crazy. For the inshore stuff, a lot of times you're either throwing jigs or like a white bait, something that's not too big. So having that lighter rod is going to give you it has a lot more action in the tip. So you're going to get better casts with a rod like that for those kind of, for that kind of application. So like I said, for the majority of fish you can catch here, like I said, redfish, snook, and trout, you really can't go wrong with what I call a lights flat rod setup of 3 or 4,000 reel with a medium light rod. I mean, that should be plenty. With line, I'd say like 15-pound line, 20 at the most pound test with the line. But then with the leader, once you like, you use the leader that where you actually hook your bait onto, or like the hook onto. Your leader is your clear line that is at the end. I mean, I'll jump up sometimes to 30-pound leader, 20-pound leader if I'm not around structure. So, I mean, that's where you can play with like your strength depending on what you're fishing around.
Right. And you'll feel comfortable pulling them in right on boat side, or do you still use the net?
I don't mind pulling on boat side, to be honest, because I have like this weird thing that it's like, all right, if they're gonna come off, I'm gonna give this is their shot. If they want to live, they'll come off at the boat. Like I catch way too many fish that I'm like, I'll just boat side him. If I lose him, it's his lucky day.
It's fair enough.
But if it's a big fish though, like I will get the net out. Like if I'm pulling like a 35-inch snook, and I'm pulling the net out all day. Because the fish like that has like real like sandpaper mouth, and they will chew through that leader quicker than a redfish, for example. So if I have a big snook on, I'm trying to get that net out and get him out of the water as quickly as possible before he breaks off.
All right. So without disposing too many of your techniques, like obviously this species that you were talking about, they're not native up here in the Northeast. So what are you doing when you're locating them? Again, are they on structure? Are they on bait? What's your kind of your go-to plan? Like if you're looking for like a snook or whatever it may be for the day.
Yeah, that's a good question, because all three species are actually going to they have different homes, kind of like now you'll see them interchange a little bit, but for the most part, your snook are going to be on structure, whether that's mangroves, a little or docks, things, because they're out of the three, they're more of an ambush fish, so they want to sit where they're not in too much current and kind of wait for bait to come to them and just be able to kind of quick and grab something. So those are usually the snook, I think, out of the three are probably the hardest to land, because they're very smart. When you hook them, they know where the structure is to break you off, and they will go right around that piling. They will break you off as soon as possible. So that's why with the snook, it's better to have a little stronger setup if you're going to be picky. Especially if we're going for some of those like big snook in Jupiter, there's areas that like do have some of those real big breeders where you definitely want even like a 5,000 or 6,000 reel, like something that's going to really whip them in. But yeah, your snook are around structure. Redfish prefer the flats. So, I mean, now they'll be in deeper stuff too, so they kind of swim around. But for the most part, your general population of redfish will be on the flats, and then your trout will be in a little bit deeper water than the flats, but they want to be around grass. Any grassy flat, you're most likely going to find trout. If there's no grass, there's probably not trout, but there might be fish. So they kind of all scatter around our area here. Like I said, they do interchange a little bit. You'll catch, a trout where you're red fishing, or vice versa. But
so I'm assuming you have like a trolling motor or a power pole set up. Like, will that really to fine tune the boat where you need it for certain scenarios?
Yeah, absolutely. So around here, a power pole or a trolling motor is a must, because there's actually a lot of areas that are considered no motor. So there's like signs that you can't run a normal like outboard in these areas. So you need to have either like a push pole. So if I'm on my skiff and I'm like pushing, I can do that in that area, or a trolling motor.
If you don't mind, actually, if anybody's listening and they don't know what a trolling motor and a power pole is, you just want to give them a brief description just so they know?
Yeah, for sure. So a trolling motor is usually positioned on the very front of the boat, and it's basically a second motor, but it's not running off gas. It's just it's hooked up to the battery. So you have a remote, and you'll basically deploy it into the water when you're not moving. Like, this is a very slow moving situation.
Directional for the most part.
Exactly. And you'll have a little remote, and I mean, you're only going like 1, 2, 3 miles an hour at a time, but it's a really great tool, especially when you're fishing here in Tampa or around Florida or other places. I'm sure you could also use one great, that it can move you very slowly. So if you're working an edge of a bank, you can slowly move down that edge as you're casting. It helps you cover ground and not make a lot of noise. Another really cool feature of the trolling motor that we use very often is what we call spot lock. So you can press a button and it'll literally GPS you to that one spot. So even if the tide's pushing you in the other direction and you're still trying to fish that one set of mangroves, it's going to hold you in that one spot. So it's actually it has a lot of cool features. And then another tool that we use that we attach usually to the back of the boat is called a power pole. It's basically a shallow water anchor. So instead of having to, as most people are familiar with, pulling out the anchor and anchor chain and chucking it off the front of the boat. So this is a very quiet alternative that you just press a button and it just it's basically a pole. It just sticks right in the ground. It holds the boat. A lot of people here in Tampa have 2 of them because that way, for an example, like say the tide's moving you, but you want to face a certain direction. Now, if you just have a pole, the boat's going to swing around until it finds the happy spot with the tide. But the power pole, if you have 2 of them, will literally lock you into that that direction.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So it's really cool.
So you put it on the bow. You got one at the bow, one at the stern at that point, or you can put them on the side. Yeah,
good question. So the power poles are usually in the back on either side of that.
Oh, two at the stern. Okay, and that'll lock you.
Yeah,
okay.
2 in the stern, and then one of the trolling motors on the bow. On the front.
All right.
Yeah, so if you see a boat with 2 power poles and a trolling motor, they're probably a very fishy people.
Follow that guy for a little bit, see where he's at.
Or
you see the rooster tail come up, then you get qualified captain on the line.
Then you know that they're not.
Yeah, I'm sure you see a lot of qualified captains on the water where you're at.
Oh yeah,
just watching at the boat ramp, people watching.
There's so many scenarios where I could post to qualified captain all the time, whether you're in the flats or people running aground, and it's always something.
Producer Chris, buddy, I see Instagram. We got some jokes going back and forth there. I love seeing that. We got some of the normal viewers, so thank you guys always for tuning in.
Well, I mean, a lot of the jokes are at your expense. So
I know. I'm seeing that. That's all right. I'm used to it, though. I got thick skin. It's all right. Is there anything pressing we want to touch on before I turned it over to you?
Squatch thinks you look good, buddy. He thinks you're losing weight.
Yeah, that's sweat, and you can thank my boss to that for working us like dogs. So we'll take it.
Nah, nothing pressing. Move on, man. Come on.
All right. Well, let's get you in the game a little bit. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
You don't want to get me involved yet.
Oh,
not yet. All right. Well, one thing we haven't talked about yet, honestly, I know you do have. Well, you mentioned it, but it's a Carolina skiff. I believe you have is one of your setups, and then I believe you have another boat as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. So my 22-foot is a Sea Chaser, kind of by Carolina skiff. That one it's really great, honestly, for whether I'm in the flats, I've taken it offshore for mahi down in the Keys, or offshore here for grouper.
Flat bottom, correct? Like real draws low water, almost nothing.
Yeah, floats in less than a foot. So I mean, it gets pretty much everywhere that we need to go on the flats, but
good.
Is really comfortable, and a little bit of chop, nothing too crazy, but so that's my 22-foot, and then I have a 16-foot South Dade skiff. So that's my technical poling skiff that I take in real shallow water. Instead of, it does have a trolling motor technically, but usually I don't have the trolling motor on the front, and I'll have the push pole. So it has platforms in the front and the back. Usually an angler's on the front, with the fly rod or spinning rod, and then I'm on the back with the push pole, slowly moving us around the flat. So it's really fun. It's really cool.
That is a very zen moment, though. Just being up there, just working the push pole. You're out there watching them fish. I mean, that's the equivalent for us in the deer woods, up in the tree stand with our bows, just enjoying it. Yeah, those are the moments where, great. Do we want to come home with something? Absolutely. But when you're just out there, like I said, for us in the tree, just whether it's sunrise or the sunset going down, it's like, this is what it's about. Those moments just like that.
Yeah, the sunrises are my favorite on the water. Yeah. That's what I sometimes like I'll look at my alarm going off at like 4 in the morning, and I'm like, do I want to sleep in but
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like at the gym, once you go, you're happy you went, but like once I'm out there and I see the sunrise, and it's like, all right, it's gonna be a really good day. Like it's just such a great way to start the morning. And then it's like National Geographic out there. I mean, the water is crystal clear. I mean, I'm seeing sea turtles popping up around me. There's fish everywhere. Like it's just, on days when I'm not catching anything, it's still such a great day, because it's so nice. It's so beautiful just being like, you don't hear traffic, you don't see people, it's just like you're out there in nature, and it's just like you and nature, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Do you actually recommend to a new angler that's just getting into the boating world, essentially, to actually buy good polarized sunglasses so you can actually see those shallows, and where you'll have a sandbar or whatever the debris may be where you are? Like for us on the South Shore, we're lucky it's sand. So if you do hit a sandbar, it's not as bad. Where on the North Shore, it's rocky, extremely rocky, and boulders. But with these new polarized sunglasses, it's amazing the difference in the tones and shades of water you can see.
Yeah, it's polarized glasses are a must when we're on the boat. Like you said, even if you're not fishing, I mean, if you're just driving the boat, you can see, like you said, you can see sandbars, you can see obstacles that you may otherwise not be able to see without them. So it just gives you a lot more clarity of the bottom because a lot of people's boats don't float in 3 inches. There's some depth there. You got to be able to clear some things.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially around here, there's sandbars everywhere. They're in places where you wouldn't expect their sandbar to be. There's bottom, and I've said qualified captain stuff. I've seen my fair share of beach boats, but having those polarized glasses, especially for new people getting out on the water, is absolutely a must.
Okay. Is there a certain brand that you use, or is there a company you work with for the sunglasses?
There is not anyone currently. I'm about to actually work with Redfin glasses.
Okay, nice.
Nice. Yeah, you've probably heard of them.
Yep.
I don't have a pair yet, but that is in the works.
Let's get on that, Redfin. Come on.
No, no, I know, but we're working on getting everything set up. Yeah, they've been great so far. But I will say, a pair of lenses that I've been turned on to recently, they're considered low light lenses from Costa, the sunglasses. And so usually before that I use like a blue lens or something that was like good for bright light scenarios, which is usually what we get here in Florida. But these low light lenses still work great in the bright stuff, but it really makes the shadows pop, especially if you're like fishing on the sandy bottom. So I've been very into the low light lenses lately. Just to give you what seems like even more clarity than what you can already get with the polarized.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
Chris,
definitely
that reminds me of like shooting lenses, almost like different shade shooting lenses.
Yeah, they're like yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like.
Oh, they're like, okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and they've been, like I said, they've been great. That's all I want to use right now.
Well, that's interesting.
So yeah, we recently we have tarpon moving through here in Tampa right now. It's
that's
like the tarpon migration.
That was going to be my next question. Like, what's like a target fish right now? What's hot? Like, what's moving in? Is that really large, like real scale? You can see the scales on the side.
Oh yeah, like the 200-pound fish. Yes.
Yeah.
And like for people that don't know what this is, so it's basically, like I said, a 200-pound fish. They swim around in schools of like hundreds together, and they just move. So right now they're migrating up the coast, the west coast of Florida, from like the Keys all the way up to like Louisiana, basically, like back and forth. That's their breeding pattern.
Okay.
So there's some kind of like hot spots that they stop at along the way. So I mean, you'll hear a lot of times people catching tarpon around Boca Grande. That's kind of like one of their holding pattern spots, and then St. Pete, Tampa area is another one. Or then you'll hear like Homosassa. They've been catching them up north really good lately. But anyways, these fish are huge. They fight. They don't, there's not many fish that like when you hook up to that they don't give up. This is one of them. Like, most fish, you you get on, for a couple minutes, like they'd make a couple of good runs. They get tired, the fish are only like, 30 inches. No, these things, they'll have you like sweating for an hour. They'll have you hooked up and like they jump too. So they make really, really great aerial, jumps and stuff. And they're really good at breaking you off at that point. So there's like a little trick that you'll probably hear at some point that you have to bow to the king. So king being the tarpon, you have to. So when the tarpon jumps, you need to like basically like put the rod forward and give him line, which is so opposite to how fish are handled.
Right.
But you have to throw the rod forward as they're in the air, or they'll throw the hook, and they'll make multiple jumps. So it's like you got to be on and ready to throw that rod out and give them line, or else you got to start all over. So it's really fun. It's basically one of the biggest sport fish that people are targeting right now here in Florida, all the way up the coast. But Tampa right now it's going off. So
is that on a catch and release basis, or are they edible and you can keep them and there's a limit? Yeah,
good question. So no limit at all. That you cannot keep them. You cannot even take them out of the water. So they're very they're very protected. So it's really just the fight, and usually you'll get them boat side, and you can kind of hold their mouth boat side for a picture. But you're not supposed to take them out of the water at all. I mean, unless you're catching one that's like under like 30 inches, I think is somewhere around there is a cutoff. If it's real small, you can take it out. But the bigger ones that are breeding up and down the coast that are moving along, you can't keep them, can't eat them. You're doing all that for a picture.
Yeah, that's cool. That's what are they marked or tagged at all, like through the state or the government to track them?
I'm sure there's a couple out there. I've never caught a tagged one, but I think I've heard of people.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be hell of a picture to somehow you could get the tag in the picture. Somehow that'd be badass.
Yeah,
it's like getting a banded duck or a goose if you duck on a waterfowl hunt.
Yeah, and it's wild how fast these fish move up and down the coast. So like in one day, that one fish will go hundreds and hundreds of miles. It's really crazy. So.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, that's what we're catching right now. And I actually have a whole trip next week. I'm going to be fly fishing for tarpon up in Cedar Key. So hopefully you guys will be seeing me posting some fly fishing videos with tarpon.
That's where I tap out. You lose me at fly fishing. I'm that guy that's just like, it's a bird's nest. I'm all wrapped up in it. I go,
it's so hard.
I'm good. I'm done. Yeah. Pretty good at it. I'll give him credit. I'll tip my hat to you. You're not bad.
I tell people like that, like, oh, I really want to get into fly fishing. And I'm like, you're going to learn to hate it before you love it. And
I respect it. I just don't have the patience for it. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'll take a spinning reel or a baitcaster reel. I'm good. Let's just rock and roll.
Yeah. So. No, don't get me wrong. I love the artificial bite with the top water on a spinning rod. I mean, I could do that all day. Between that and fly fishing is kind of where my favorites are at this point.
What's better than like a pop and plug getting smacked out of the water by a huge tail slap or something? That's awesome.
I know. That's awesome. Yeah.
So, Producer Chris, you ready to talk, man? I mean, what's going on? You all right?
I almost forgot you were on here.
Ready, because we're gonna start talking. You can go now, Dave. We're gonna.
Oh, you know me now. All right.
The only thing better than a popper on the top water fly. Swat.
Not wrong. Not wrong.
Man, Dave.
I haven't experienced it yet, so I can't say. I'll trust you.
You just gotta go out there and try it.
That's true.
It's all practice.
I'm sure Chris has like 5 rods. I'm sure I could borrow one.
Yeah, Chris, do you fly fish?
A lot.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's my preferred method of fishing. Period.
But way different. Like, are you usually doing like streams and like what kind of fish are you catching on fly?
Name it. We have stripers up here that we can catch on a fly rod that are native. We do largemouth bass.
Fish are my bait though. That's the difference. That's where I'm like, what am I doing with this little thing?
Listen, measure the story, not the inches, Dave.
Yeah,
it's very Irish. Very Irish of you.
I didn't come up with that. You did.
Very Irish of me.
No, up here, like we prefer to fly fish. Me and my fishing partner Phil. That's hands down what we're gonna go with every time. It doesn't matter what we're after. If we can use a fly rod, we're gonna use it. Obviously, there's certain times when you just can't. But For the most part, anything we can do with a fly rod, we're gonna do it.
That's awesome.
So,
what's the coolest fish you've caught on fly, or what was your favorite fish so far you've caught on fly?
I like trout fishing, but you know what? To be honest with you, going out on my paddleboard in the like the back bay areas and some of these marsh areas and just pan fishing, just sitting out there slinging bugs and just sitting in the sun, hanging out, catching just like every other cast. You're just slamming panfish.
That's
You can't
awesome.
beat it. It's just a good time.
That's really cool. Yeah, my husband and I, we live on a lake here in Tampa, actually. Like it's like a 4-acre, 5-acre lake, so nothing too big. We don't have any like crazy jet ski. Like it's not a big ski lake. But we feed the fish in the back. So at this point, we have like over 1 pound bluegill. We actually tag our bass out there. So we'll catch one, we'll tag them. And I have like a whole spreadsheet on my phone of like, all right, what number was it? How big was he? How much did he weigh? When did I catch him? Was it a major or minor? Like what area I caught him in? So it's kind of cool. Like we'll catch him again and I'll like look to see how much they've weighed and how much they've gained. But that made me think because we'll throw the fly. That's actually the perfect place to practice fly for us is on the dock out on the lake. So we have like a real little setup. We'll like throw and it's like every cast, like bluegill after bluegill. And we'll like catch the bluegill, rehook them, throw them back in there, and a bass just comes over and smokes it. And you could literally just do that for an hour out there every single day if you wanted to.
That's what I meant to ask you from earlier. I got to interrupt real quick.
Okay.
Is there a species where you guys like up in the Northeast striped bass, you can live line bunker or you can throw out a bunker chunk? I was going to ask you if any of these real target species of fish you use like a live line scenario with your bait.
If I'm using live bait?
Yeah.
For like saltwater or freshwater?
No, saltwater.
Saltwater, yeah. So if we're using live bait, we use a bait what we call a greenie or like a thread fin or basically like a little white bait basically.
Okay.
Like a 2 or 3 out circle hook and that on some leader. And I mean that's pretty much. I mean you can get the redfish, snook, trout, cobia, like pretty much everything eats that. So I mean if you end up going fishing here and you get white bait, you can pretty much catch anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean you can even put that down with a little weight, and get some grouper on the bottom. Like I said, everything around here will eat that. So that's kind of like your go-to bait if you're going live bait.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That was on my list. I forgot to ask it.
I'll tell you that answer your question.
What are you worried about?
No, it's good.
You can fish anywhere but Long Island, so don't worry.
Hey man, I'm trying. I got my notes out tonight. I'm trying very hard to keep it professional. First show back in a while. Trying to do it right.
Right.
I got to bring something up.
Okay.
All right. So I'm pretty sure I saw this. A permit.
Yes.
I got to ask you about this.
It was.
That's a list fish for me.
Oh, that's cool.
In case anybody's wondering, catching permit, especially on a fly rod, is probably one of the hardest things you can accomplish in the fishing world because permit are literally scared of the things that you eat.
Yeah.
So, I got to ask you, like, just run me through this experience.
So I've actually never caught a permit on fly. I will say that's definitely still on my bucket list because, like you said, permit on fly is arguably, I would say, harder than tarpon on fly because, like, you can have everything right and they'll still be like, nope, I don't feel like it today, So no, permit are hard. I've only ever caught permit on crabs. So around here we have real strong tides. So on the outgoing tides, we get crabs to flush with the grass. So there's certain points where there are areas in the bay, specifically around like the bridges or like, pinch points where all that grass kind of gets funneled together that will dip crabs. So it's actually really fun. But someone's, just driving real slow and usually 1 or 2 people is on the bow. You got a big old net and you're just looking for them because they are floating on the top of the water. So you'll dip a couple crabs. And where I'm going with this is this time of year, you can either tarpon fish with those crabs or you can take them and go offshore, find some sort of wreck or reef area where hopefully they're, circling around. That's just the conditions that I've caught them in, is offshore during this time of year. And they're pretty much on the surface. And the last ones I just caught in Fort Myers like 2 weeks ago. I mean, we're talking, it was like a 35-pound fish, like huge permit. We could see them. They were actually hanging out with barracuda. It was really weird. Like there was like a dozen or 2 dozen barracuda, huge barracuda, hanging out on the surface above this wreck. And we'd see these giant silver flashes like moving around under them. And we're like, that's them. So we would pitch our crabs kind of up current, because the current's actually moving pretty strong offshore. Pitch the crabs up and it would just drift back to these permits. And that's how we were able to hook up to some of those. And wait, I can't wait, Chris, for you to catch one, because they make such good runs. Like, especially not even just the big ones, the smaller ones too. Like they just fight so hard. And it's like, yeah, it's just so fun. That's definitely up there with like one of my favorite fish to catch, because it's not very often I catch them, but they are such a good fight, And of course they're gorgeous fish. They're real big silver, like they're just got a really cool looking face. Hold on. This is a permit on my wall, in case you guys were wondering. That's actually a permit.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, they're fun. I can't wait for you to catch one.
Well, hopefully we'll see. I got a lot of bucket list things, and I'm trying to check them off. So it's, hopefully I can get to that soon.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Because you guys don't have permit up there, right? You'd have to, like the Keys or somewhere. You'd have to go down there to target.
Hey, I love Key West. So if you got to twist my arm to go to Key West, I'm all in. I mean, let's go.
I love
Key West is like Nashville on the ocean, and I love Nashville, so I'm good. I was right at home there.
Going down Duval Street, they got all the cool little restaurants.
Me and my wife went there for our honeymoon. Irish Kevin's, Hog's Breath, all those joints.
Yeah,
I didn't want to leave.
All right,
go back. Go back.
Listen, we'll all fly down. Me and Rob will go out. We're gonna go do our fishing, and we'll see you back at the airport when we're ready to leave.
Except the lobster's got no claws. I had an issue with that. It freaked me out when I saw him. Look at that! That ain't a fucking lobster.
Yeah,
there's some claws on that thing.
So funny.
All right.
The Keys are gorgeous. We usually do like Island Marauders. We go like halfway down the Keys, kind of like not all the way down to Key West, because there's a really great like the inshore side of it. So basically, I guess the north side of the Keys has really good flats and stuff. Okay. And then obviously your offshore stuff too. So we do like Island Marauda area, because it's kind of the best of both worlds. If it's like really slicked out, calm day, we'll go offshore. But if it's like a little windier, we'll just head inshore and do like bonefish, tarpon, maybe permit if we find them, like stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. We did have a question come in from Instagram. If you don't mind.
Don't. I'm getting to that.
Oh, you're on it?
Oh.
You doing your job?
It's like, let me ask it.
He's doing his job. He's got it. He's good.
Relax. I got fly fishing and I got permit out of the way. Now we're going to get into what I really dig into. I'm a big technical guy. I'm a gearhead, everything. So
I got you. Okay.
We got you. Some real technical gear questions right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So let's start with the boat. We already talked about trolling motors and power poles. I want to get into some of your electronics. And this is actually a question that Squatch has. So if you could kind of run me through your suite of electronics on the boat as you're going out.
Yeah, sure. For like my skiff or for the 22 or just in general?
Either one.
Yeah, so for sure. So I usually run a Garmin. I have a Garmin on both my boats. GPS is a must. At this point, I kind of just like local knowledge type of stuff. Like I know where to go, but there's always shifting sandbars and stuff, and especially where I go in my skiff is very, very shallow, so that we have like some rocky situations. So I definitely need a Garmin to make sure I'm not going to like hit something. So other than that, my trolling motor, my power pole on my 22 foot. What else? Oh, trim tabs. So for people that don't know, so in the very back of the boat on the very, very bottom, basically, there's what's called trim tabs. And so let's say you just have a regular boat, very flat bottom. Sometimes the boat will porpoise a little bit as like when you're at full speed, it just won't really stay at like a steady, like constant, like level, I guess, if you want to say that. So anyways, trim tabs, you can push them down to basically push the nose of the boat down. So it actually just keeps the ride a lot smoother. So I actually have that on both of my boats, especially the skiff, because I have like a 30 horse on that thing, and it just wants to like porpoise on me when I'm at max speed. So doing like just a tiny bit of trim tabs in the back keeps that nose down. So it's actually, it's just a lot more comfortable ride. So yeah, trim tabs is a must. It depends on the boat, but usually you need trim tabs. What else? That's really it.
Well, let me kind of circle back to the Garmin.
I can picture you and your skip just standing that bad boy up, going down the channel, letting your inner Southern girl come out. Fuck it, let it rip.
Yeah. I used to have a tiller. So my other skiff I had before that, I had like the
you're standing all the way in the back. Absolutely.
And it was cool because like I had my top platform. So I would sit on the top platform
cool.
and then like because I had the tiller extension like handle, and I could just kind of keep that down by my legs and just steer from up there and like drive it up there. It was cool. Now the one I have now has a center console, so it's very nice. But I do kind of miss the tiller because
absolutely.
So let me ask you a little bit more about the Garmin here.
Okay.
Now, do you use, other than GPS, are you using sonar with the new 3D view and everything, your fish finder? What are you kind of using in this suite of electronics that Garmin has?
Yeah, good question. So my skiff does not have a bottom finder. So that one's just GPS location on a map to make sure I'm running the same lines. My 22 foot though does have a depth finder. So now my Garmin is, let's just say it's outdated. It has some miles on it. So it's definitely not the new versions that has all the 3D, bottom topography. Like there's some crazy technology out right now. And there's local captains that have, the Simrad systems or the Hummingbird systems that are brand new. Those things it can see a fish this big, but it can see its shadow. Like you see the fins and everything. Like it's wild, like how accurate the pictures are these days. Mine is not like that, unfortunately. It actually helped me tarpon fish a little easier around, bridges and stuff. You could easily see if there's tarpon there. But no, so mine does have a bottom finder. If I'm looking for tarpon or grouper, I'm looking for like rock structures and stuff like that. I can see that on my Garmin. Is it the best one out there? No, but it does its job. So
you gotta trust your instruments on the water, especially if fog rolls in or at nighttime.
That's 100%.
One thing my dad always told me: just trust your instruments.
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah, and I'll actually also, I have Navionics on my phone, so just another, in case my Garmin's go down and sometimes they do act up a little bit, I can look on my phone and get my GPS coordinates. It'll show me exactly where I'm at. So yes, I'll always resort to backup GPSs, especially around here, because you never know. Better safe than sorry.
So I kind of want to. I got a bunch of questions, so I'm gonna kind of bounce around a little bit here. Now, getting a little bit back to fly fishing. Now, what do you prefer to throw when you're fly fishing? Are you more of like a streamer, or what's your favorite fly to use?
Yeah, good question. So I actually make my own flies. So around here, so let me back up. So usually if I'm fly fishing, I'm targeting redfish. Snook are just a different ball game. I don't think I've actually caught any snook on fly here in Tampa. I've caught them down south, but they're just a little more difficult. So focusing on redfish's mouths are on the bottom. So they are more inclined to eat off the bottom. They like their crabs, like little crustacean, things like that. So the flies that I make, they have a little weight on them, and I basically make them resemble a bug, of kind of just something that they're going to see sitting on the bottom. So when I'm targeting my redfish, I'll see. So it's all visual. Like our water is crystal clear. So our fishing is very similar to hunting because we got to move really slow. They can see us just as good as we can see them, but I'm visually seeing that fish before I catch them. So I'm seeing the fish, I'm getting a cast out. I usually lead the fish like 5 feet at least, somewhere around there. Depends on what the situation is. But I'm leading the fish, and I'm gonna let that fly sink to the bottom. So when the fish sees it, it is already on the bottom, and I'm just doing real slow ticks. So tiny little movements just to scoot it across the bottom to basically create that intersection. And usually they're very interested in it most of the time.
Can you actually feel the fly hit the bottom? It's not like it's a bucktail, or you can kind of just gauge it by the time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm finding these fish in like less than a foot of water, so it only takes a couple seconds, not even, to hit the bottom. So usually as soon as I get kind of reset up and I'm ready to slow tick it, it's already hit the bottom.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do a lot of bottom fish, but I use like deer hair, like different hair type of setups, I guess you want to call it, for my flies. Nothing. I mean, we're talking like pretty small, like smaller than you think, even for like big fish. Like they really like the small stuff.
Which fish you really got to set the hook? Like you really just got to like put the wood to them and just rip their lips off, essentially.
I mean,
really
sometimes the redfish, if they're big,
Yeah.
you really got to just give it a good pull to get a good set. But the redfish are good. Like if you get a good hook set.
Oh wait, hold on. That's how you set the hook on a fly pole? You actually got to peel out from the bottom?
Yeah. So
I didn't know.
Holding your line in.
What? I don't fly fish. How the hell would I know?
I'm gonna pretend you didn't ask that.
It's my show. I can answer whatever the hell I want.
Yeah, you got to take that line and get it tight, and so what you don't want to do when you're fly fishing is lift up. That's actually when if you just lift up to try to set the hook, you're gonna lose the fish. You gotta basically hold that. I know it's so opposite to spinning stuff.
Right.
Hold that rod where it's been, and just use your other hand to like pull the line tight. So that's your strip set. That's where you get the hook planted, and then that's when you can put more pressure on the rod going up.
Nicely explained, Erica.
Yeah,
you just got to explain it a little bit. So, yeah. Sorry. I got thick skin. I'll take the heat for a minute.
I'm here for all the answers.
All right. So I am going to ask you a question I ask everybody, and this is a little different because it's generally this is like a hunting-based question, but
this is going to be good. I'm curious to hear the answer.
So what are 3 things that you have to bring with you every time you go on the water? This is like aside from your license or fuel for the boat or something like your cell phone. Like what are 3 things that no matter what you're doing, you got to take with you on the water? I
mean, first my mind goes to the obvious of rod reel combo.
Like besides that.
Okay. The polarized glasses. I know you mentioned that. A hat. I mean, stuff like that's just like I have a whole checklist. When I go fishing, if I don't bring one of these things in my checklist, it's like I gotta go home because there's like I need my hat. I need a pair of sunglasses. I need a pair of pliers. I need all my leaders. Different pound leader, whether it's 20, 30, 40 pound leaders. And the little spools. It's for extra. I need to bring towels because there's things, you get wet or, you fall in or would have to jump in, you want a towel. What else? Now for me specifically, especially if I'm doing the whole filming stuff, it's the GoPros, it's the extra batteries, the microphones. So stuff like that is always a must. Oh, but then when we go to like the food situation, water, of course, is a must. Like if I forget water, I go home. Like I have to have water here in Florida. It's way too hot. Coffee in the morning, and I make like special Cuban coffee on the stove, so it's like just like my little thing. Coffee, some kind of snack. I need some kind of food out there. I can't just go out there with no food. So it's whether it's like an orange or like crackers or like some kind of lunch, whether it's some leftovers or I'll stop at Publix, like our grocery store here, and just get a pub sub, like a sandwich to take out with me. So there's a lot of things that go into fishing. That's not just your rod and reel. You need a lot of other stuff.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So that wasn't really 3 things, but They're all equally important.
So I'm kind of the same way, and it's like all my hunting gear. It's got to be all of this, or we're not going. Same thing, fly fishing. Like if my pack isn't set up, like my chest rig isn't set up the right way, I'm going. Like this ain't gonna work out.
Right, it's game over. Like you need all your stuff the way it needs to be set up, or else it doesn't work.
Any game fish that you are going to harvest, and you're going to fillet up and take back with you, do you do that on the boat, or you keep them on ice to get back to the dock?
Yeah, good question. So at least here in Florida, I don't know the rules everywhere, but you're not supposed to fillet the fish on the boat. I think you
would have to keep. I think you got to keep the carcass with you at that point. Possibly.
Yeah, something along those lines. I should know. I just don't ever really keep fish very often. So
okay.
But when I do keep fish, I'll bring them back to the boat or back to the dock.
Mm-hmm.
We have a seaward fillet table, so we'll like fillet them up there. Obviously throw any leftovers in the water, like the skin, like the head, like things you're not going to take.
I think I saw you had a good set, like actually had like a giant tube going right down into the water where you could drop all the scraps and everything.
Yeah, that was actually at a marina down in the Keys that I'd stayed at.
Oh, okay.
It's actually really smart, and for people that aren't really understanding. So at this fillet table that was in the marina, it's obviously when you're cleaning fish, there's a lot of extras. Now instead of just throwing them over the side of the table and letting them loosely just fall in the water, they had this like a 5 by 5, 6 by like 6, whatever, very large tube off the back, so that you put your carcasses in there and it goes right down into to the water.
Yeah.
And so basically the reason behind that is the birds otherwise will just kind of swoop in and pick up all the leftovers, and birds make a very big mess of the marinas. Before you know it, you have pelicans sitting on all the boats, you have poop everywhere. Like it just becomes a very messy situation. So with the pipe that literally goes all the way into the water, it doesn't let the birds, like there's no access for them to get any of that. It just goes like down. But with that being said, I mean, there's tons of resident sharks, tarpon. You have tons of fish. I mean, nothing goes to waste. Everything's going to get, but it's much better to have the fish take care of it than the birds. So that was actually a really cool setup that they had.
Yeah, no, it caught my attention. That's a good idea. You don't see that too often, honestly. So it was good. Yeah,
because anywhere else that you see like cleaning tables like that, usually there's like 6 birds just hovering somewhere around the area, like just waiting, like, all right, who's next? Like, who's going to get me more food,
They know it, so absolutely.
They know it. Yeah, and even there'll be signs like don't feed the birds, but it's hard to avoid it when you're just throwing it in the water. So, yeah.
Do you have a certain brand fillet knife or knife system that you work with often, or just do you have a couple?
I don't have a specific fillet knife company I work with, but I mean, a couple good brands out there. Bubba Blade, Dexter knives are good.
Dexter, yeah.
Those are usually like our go-tos.
Yeah.
They're pretty
a couple, Dexter's a good, a couple of sharpens with a hand sharpener, and you're good to go. They're pretty durable.
Yeah, they are really good. I think I got a couple of those.
Yeah.
I have a couple of each, honestly. If I'm going out for meat, I plan to bring a couple, because hopefully I have enough fish to need a couple friends to help me, so it's good to have a couple backups just in case.
This might be a little bit of a nerdy question, but life jacket, a nice, comfortable life jacket, if you're going to be on doing a lot of traveling, have you come across a good brand? Especially, honestly, maybe for females, I'm sure that could be a little difficult sometimes, find one that's just comfortable to wear.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't wear a life jacket. I probably should. The ones I carry around in the boat,
like has entered the chat.
Just disregard this part of the video.
No, just to have, like, honestly, on the boat, it's
So I have to, obviously, to keep up with code, I have to have life jackets on the boat. They are on the boat. I do have life jackets. I just don't wear them unless I need them. But they're like your typical, like, real big orange. Like,
you got that. Okay.
Life jackets. That's what I have. I just have them like stowed away for hopefully when I never have to need them. But they do have some. I don't know the brands. They do have some nice lower profile types of life jackets. That like they're water activated, so they're not already really big. They're kind of slimmer, and they'll puff up when they get
Yeah, it's a pretty cool system. That's the type I was thinking of. Yeah, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
probably end up switching to some of this, honestly, in the near future. But it'll depend on if because in the works is because I have my captain's license. I do want to start to charter kind of on the side, do a little bit of that.
You hit the perfect segue right on the head.
Yeah,
we're going to ask you about that. We want to first of all say congratulations on that. We know that's not easy to get that and pass that. So obviously congratulations. And we were going to ask, what is a goal now that you have your captain's license? Are you looking to do charters?
Yeah, so I still want to do all the YouTube stuff. So I think that's still going to be number one priority. I think the next transition is getting someone to help me edit the videos, because that does take me off the water for a couple of days for each video. Takes me hours to get through each one. So with that extra time, I want to transition that into running a couple of charters here and there. I really I would love to, and I don't know if it'll end up being this, but I would love to have just female fly anglers as like my target audience for charters, specifically on my skiff, because there's just some really, really amazing areas that I have that I get on so many redfish, and it's such a cool experience to be able to bring some more people into that sport, especially women. I think it's really cool, and there's not many women guides just in general. And then to specifically focus on fly fishing, I think is very nichey, and I think that'd be kind of fun to offer that because I offer that to women. I have girlfriends that love fly fishing also, and there's really only guy guides as options if you're trying to do charters, take someone out fishing. So that's kind of like where I'd like to go with it. If it ends up being that, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I think I want to kind of focus. I would love to focus on just fly fishing, if I had to be picky. So that's kind of.
I think that's a great goal. I wish you all, best of luck with that. Anything we could do, if that gets going in the near future, just let us know.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, Producer Chris, we're at the 1 hour mark, buddy. You got anything else you want to wrap up?
I got my one last question.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So tomorrow you can only fish for one species. This is it. This is all you're going to be able to do for the rest of your life.
Okay.
What's it going to be?
Redfish on fly. It's like my bread and butter these days. It's the best of both worlds. It's amazing scenery, crystal clear water. I'm in less than a foot of water. I just see everything. There's no boats around. There's tons of fish. I get dozens of shots every time I'm out. It's just a really amazing fishery, and the application of fly fishing has just become my favorite these days. It's just so rewarding, and even if you're not catching, it's still just you see everything. So it's a very visual experience instead of, you just like bottom fishing, just like waiting for something to bite, you don't really see what's going on. But the fly fishing setup is it's very visual, and that's what I love. So I could do fly fishing for redfish for the rest of my life and probably never get bored. So
there you go. It's a solid answer. Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
So
yeah.
All right. I think at this point, why don't you take a couple minutes or however long you need and let everybody know all your social media outlets that, obviously your YouTube, your Instagram, any companies that you work with. If you want to give them a shout out, feel free to do that as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram. I'm on there as Captain Erica Lynn. I'm also on YouTube under Erica Lynn. You'll find me there. Huge shout out to HH Insurance, Seaward Marine, Fillet Tables, South Dade Skiffs. They've been great. They've been really, really awesome hooking me up with my 16-foot skiff that I use all the time. I love it. So yeah, huge shout out to everyone else that's kind of brought me through this whole journey. Yeah, it's been really fun, and thank you guys again so much for having me. This has been really fun. I can't believe an hour has gone by already. Went by fast.
Yeah. You have the open invite anytime you want to come on, and it is true. Anything we could do to help you. Obviously, you're well into the game on as far as YouTube and social media. So we, honestly, we give you a lot of credit for that because we do know what goes into it with the editing, and we have a couple guys working together as a team to do it now. So doing it yourself on top of still being out there and producing as an angler, It's you're doing it. You're not just somebody out there pretending to be something you're not. And that's here at Pursuit Live and all of us, we take that to heart. We don't claim to be anything we're not. We're just regular guys, just trying to share the outdoors. Everybody was what we love. So you're a great ambassador, for fishing and the outdoors. So nicely done.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
I guess Chris has a question there. What's up, buddy?
Dave, that's incorrect. Dave claims to be a good hunter.
Oh, he's putting me under the bus.
It's all right. It's all right.
That's all right.
We've had a little separation anxiety. We haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks, so
I understand.
So, on a serious note, again, thank you for joining us, taking some time out on a Friday night, hanging out with us for a little bit. We are genuine. Anytime you want to come back on, especially if you get this fly fishing charter up, please keep us in the loop with that. We can actually connect you with a local crew on the island here. It's actually called Long Island Babes and Bucks. It's an all-female hunting and fishing crew. So I can actually connect you with the owner of that crew, Jacqueline. Great group of girls. Same thing. They're out there, they're doing it, and they get it done.
That's awesome.
So we love seeing that. We're big supporters of them. We work closely with them, and we love seeing it. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. Chris, you want to wrap this up, buddy?
Yeah, it's permission to disembark the interview, Captain.
Thank you guys so much for having me again. This has been really fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining
After the ending credits, just hang tight on StreamYard. We're just going to talk to you real quick after the show, and then you're free to go. But everybody else that was watching, between YouTube, we had a couple people sign on, Instagram, all you guys out there, thank you again. We're back in the groove, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a good Friday night.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Appreciate it.